Hook. We often talk about the major figures of the Bible: Abraham, Moses, David, Paul. But what about the women? Not just background figures, but key players in the story of redemption. God used ordinary women in extraordinary ways. And today, we're exploring their stories. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Eve, the first woman, the first mother, and the first to face temptation. Yes, she disobeyed. She ate from the tree God said to avoid. But in that same moment, God made the very first promise of redemption. He told the serpent, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." Genesis 3:15. That's the first prophecy pointing to Jesus, a descendant of Eve who would defeat evil. So even in failure, Eve's story points to hope. Sarah, wife of Abraham and mother of the covenant. God promised Abraham he'd become the father of many nations. But Sarah was barren. She waited decades. When she was 90, God told Abraham, "Sarah will have a son." She laughed, not out of joy, but disbelief. But it happened. She gave birth to Isaac. And through Isaac came Jacob. And through Jacob, the nation of Israel. Sarah wasn't perfect. She doubted. She struggled. But her story reminds us, God keeps his promises, even when they seem impossible. Rebecca, bold, decisive, and used by God to shape a nation. She left her homeland to marry Isaac, trusting a servant's word that this marriage was part of God's plan. Later, she played a key role in Jacob receiving the blessing instead of Esau. It was controversial, but that moment secured Jacob's place as the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. God used her quick thinking to advance his bigger story. Leah and Rachel, sisters caught in a complicated family dynamic. Jacob loved Rachel but was tricked into marrying Leah first. Rachel was beautiful, but Leah was overlooked. Still, it was Leah, the unloved wife, who gave birth to Judah, the tribe that would produce King David and, generations later, Jesus. Rachel gave birth to Joseph, who would one day save Egypt and his own family from famine. God worked even through the tension and rivalry to build the foundation of an entire nation. Tamar, a woman wronged, who took bold action. Her husband died, and her rights were ignored by her family. She disguised herself and confronted Judah, her father-in-law, to secure justice and her place in the family. From their union came Perez, who shows up in the genealogy of Jesus. Tamar's story is difficult, but it shows that God doesn't abandon the forgotten. He brings redemption from broken situations. Rahab, a woman from Jericho, known as a prostitute. But when Israelite spies entered her city, she protected them. She had heard of Israel's God and believed he was real. She hid the spies, let them escape, and tied a scarlet cord in her window as a sign. When Jericho fell, she and her family were saved. Later she married into Israel and became the great-great-grandmother of King David. Rahab's faith turned her from an outsider to a key part of God's people. Ruth, a Moabite widow who showed incredible loyalty. After her husband died, she told her mother-in-law, Naomi, "Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." She followed Naomi back to Israel, worked in the fields to survive, and eventually married Boaz, a relative who redeemed her family's name. Their son was Obed, the father of Jesse, the father of David. This foreign woman became part of the royal lineage of the Messiah. Hannah, a woman of deep prayer. She couldn't have children and was mocked by others, but she poured her heart out to God in the temple, so passionately that the priest thought she was drunk. God heard her. She gave birth to Samuel, who would become a prophet, priest, and judge. Samuel anointed both Saul and David, shaping Israel's future. Hannah gave her son back to God, literally, and in doing so, helped lead a nation spiritually. Esther, a Jewish girl who became queen in Persia. When a plot was uncovered to wipe out her people, her cousin Mordecai told her, "Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" She risked her life to approach the king, revealed the plot, and saved the Jewish people. Esther's courage and timing changed everything. God placed her exactly where she needed to be. Mary, a teenage girl from a small town, engaged to be married. An angel appeared and told her, "You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus." She said yes. No fame, no fortune, just faith. She became the mother of the Savior and raised him from the cradle to the cross. Mary Magdalene, healed by Jesus and forever changed. She followed him, supported his ministry, and stayed when others fled. She was at the crucifixion. She was at the tomb. And she was the first person to see the risen Christ. She ran to tell the others, the very first witness of the resurrection. These women weren't famous when their stories began. Most were unlikely choices. Many were outsiders. But God used them, not because they were perfect, but because they trusted Him when it counted. They were part of the foundation of faith, and their stories still matter today.